stop right now before you go any further, before you press play on what you think is just another motivational audiobook. I need you to understand something that's going to make you uncomfortable. This is not motivation. This is not inspiration. This is not about thinking positive or believing in yourself. This is about the part of you that you've been hiding your entire life, the part you're terrified to look at, the part that sabotages you every single time you try to level up. Psychologists call it your shadow self. And if you don't face it, it will destroy everything you're trying to build. Here's what nobody else will tell you. You've watched 1,000 motivational videos. You've read the books, done the affirmations, set the goals, tried the morning routines, followed the success formulas. And yet, something inside you keeps pulling you back. Some invisible force that makes you quit right before the breakthrough. That makes you pick fights when things are going well. That makes you sabotage the relationship, the job, the opportunity. You blame circumstances, you blame timing, you blame other people. But the truth is darker than that. There's a version of you that you refuse to acknowledge. A version filled with rage, shame, jealousy, darkness. A version that doesn't fit the story you tell yourself about who you are. And until you turn around and face that shadow, until you stop running from the parts of yourself that terrify you, you will never, ever be free. This audiobook is called The Shadow Work Revolution, and it's going to take you places that other content creators are too afraid to go, because I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm here to make you whole. If you want comfortable, click away now. If you want easy, go watch another generic motivation video. But if you're tired of lying to yourself, if you're ready to meet the parts of you that you've been exiling, if you want real transformation, not just temporary inspiration, then take a breath and let's begin. Before we start, if you want more audiobooks that go this deep, that challenge you this hard, subscribe to EchoVerse Audiobooks and hit the notification bell. Because what you're about to hear is just the beginning. Your shadow is waiting. Let's go meet it. Chapter 1. The part of you that you refuse to see. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah was a high achiever. Corporate job, nice apartment, Instagram perfect life. From the outside, she had it all together. But inside, Sarah was at war with herself. Every time she got close to a promotion, she'd make a catastrophic mistake. Every time a relationship got serious, she'd find a reason to end it. Every time she was about to level up, something inside her would press the self-destruct button, and Sarah had no idea why until her therapist asked her one question that changed everything. Sarah, what part of yourself are you refusing to see? And that's when it hit her, the angry part. The part that resented her parents for their impossible expectations. The part that was furious at having to be perfect all the time. The part that wanted to scream, to rebel, to destroy everything she'd built. That part terrified her. So she buried it, pushed it down, pretended it didn't exist. But here's what she didn't understand. Here's what most people don't understand. When you bury a part of yourself, it doesn't disappear. It goes into what Carl Jung called the shadow, your unconscious mind. And from there, it controls you in ways you can't even see. That's why Sarah sabotaged herself. Her shadow was fighting back, demanding to be seen, and the only way it could get her attention was through destruction. This is the truth that nobody talks about in self-help. Your shadow is every part of yourself that you've rejected, denied, or hidden away. It's the anger you were told wasn't appropriate, the sadness you were taught to suppress, the jealousy you felt ashamed to admit, the darkness you feared made you a bad person. And here's the terrifying part. Your shadow doesn't care about your goals. It doesn't care about your success. It doesn't care about your 5-year plan. All it wants is recognition, to be seen, to be acknowledged. And if you refuse to look at it consciously, it will show up unconsciously through self-sabotage, through addiction, through destroying relationships, through keeping you stuck in patterns you can't explain. You think your problem is discipline, but it's not. You think your problem is motivation, but it's not. You think your problem is external circumstances, but it's not. Your problem is that there's a part of you that you refuse to meet, and that part is running your life from the shadows. Think about it. How many times have you done something and thought, why did I do that? That's not like me. That was you. Just the version you don't want to admit exists. The version that's petty, that's jealous, that's angry, that's scared, that's small. And until you turn around and look that version in the eyes and say, I see you, you're part of me too, you will keep repeating the same patterns forever. Shadow work is the process of integration, of bringing the unconscious into consciousness. of taking back all the parts of yourself you've exiled. And I'm not going to lie to you. This process is uncomfortable, it's painful, it's confronting, but it's the only path to real freedom. Because once you integrate your shadow, once you stop running from the darkness, something incredible happens. You stop being controlled by it. You stop self-sabotaging. You stop the destructive patterns. You stop living in fear of your own mind. And you become whole, authentic, unshakable, not because you're perfect, but because you've accepted every part of yourself. Light and shadow, good and bad, all of it. That's what this audiobook is about. Not becoming better, becoming whole. So let me ask you the same question Sarah's therapist asked her. What part of yourself are you refusing to see? That's your shadow. And in the next 60 minutes, we're going to bring it into the light. Are you ready? Chapter 2, Your Secret Rage. Let's talk about something you probably don't want to admit. You're angry. Not the kind of anger you express, not the kind you show when someone cuts you off in traffic or when you're frustrated at work. I'm talking about the deep, buried, ancient rage that you've been suppressing for years, maybe decades, and you're probably thinking, not me. I'm not an angry person. I'm calm. I'm rational. I've moved past that. And that's exactly the problem, because the anger didn't disappear. It just went underground, into your shadow. Let me show you how it works. You were taught that anger is bad, that good people don't get angry, that losing your temper is weakness, that expressing rage is inappropriate. So you learned to suppress it, to smile when you wanted to scream, to say I'm fine when you were seething inside, to be the bigger person, to let it go, to keep the peace. And on the surface, this worked. You became the calm one, the mature one, the one who never loses control. But inside there's a volcano, and it's been building pressure for years. This is why nice people explode out of nowhere. This is why the person who never gets angry suddenly has a breakdown. This is why you snap at people you love over tiny things. It's not about the dishes they didn't wash. It's about 20 years of unexpressed rage finding a crack in your armor. Here's what happens when you bury rage in your shadow. It comes out sideways, through passive aggression, through sarcasm, through forgetting important things, through chronic lateness, through silent treatment, through sabotaging yourself and others. You become the person who says, I'm not mad, while slamming cabinets, who says it's fine in a tone that makes it clear it's not fine, who holds grudges for years while pretending you've forgiven. This is shadow rage, and it's destroying your relationships, your peace of mind, and your ability to move forward. So let's do something radical right now. Let's acknowledge it. Think about the last time someone wronged you, really wronged you, and you swallowed it, you let it go, you moved on. Feel that? That tightness in your chest? That's buried rage. Now think about all the times you've been treated unfairly, overlooked, disrespected, taken advantage of, and you smiled and played nice. All of that is in your shadow, festering, growing, waiting. And I'm not saying you should go punch walls or scream at people. That's not shadow work. Shadow work is about acknowledgement. It's about saying, yes, I am angry. I have every right to be angry. And that doesn't make me a bad person. Because here's the truth. Anger is information. It tells you when your boundaries have been violated, when something isn't right, when you need to take action. But when you suppress it, you lose access to that information. You become a doormat. You let people walk all over you, and then you wonder why you feel powerless. The goal isn't to become an angry person. The goal is to integrate your anger, to acknowledge it, to give it a voice without letting it control you. So right now, I want you to try something, just for a moment. Give yourself permission to feel your rage, not to act on it, just to feel it. Who are you actually angry at? What have you been suppressing? What injustice have you been pretending didn't affect you? Say it out loud, even if it's just a whisper. I'm angry at... That's your shadow speaking, and the moment you acknowledge it, you take away its power to control you unconsciously. This is just the beginning, because rage isn't the only thing hiding in your shadow. There's more, and it gets darker. Let's keep going. Chapter 3. The shame you carry. If rage is the shadow's fire, shame is its poison, and you're probably carrying more of it than you realize. Shame is different from guilt. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. Guilt can be healthy. It tells you, when you violated your own values. It motivates you to make amends, to do better. But shame is toxic. It doesn't motivate, it paralyzes, it makes you hide, it makes you shrink, it makes you believe that if people really knew you, they would reject you. And here's the thing about shame. It loves the dark. It thrives in secrecy. The more you hide it, the stronger it gets. So let's bring it into the light. Think about the stories you tell yourself, the ones you'd never say out loud. I'm not smart enough. I'm not attractive enough. I'm too much. I'm not enough. I'm damaged. I'm broken. I'm unlovable. These aren't facts. These are shame narratives, and they're running your life from your shadow. Here's how shame shows up. It shows up as procrastination, because if you never start, you can never fail. And if you never fail, you can never confirm the shameful story you believe about yourself. It shows up as perfectionism, because if everything is perfect, no one will see the real you, the flawed, messy, shameful you that you're trying to hide. It shows up as people-pleasing, because if everyone likes you, maybe you're not as bad as you think you are. Maybe you have value after all. It shows up as self-sabotage, because deep down, you don't believe you deserve good things, so when they come, your shadow finds a way to destroy them. Most people don't realize they're carrying shame. They just know they feel stuck, anxious, not good enough, like they're waiting for someone to discover they're a fraud. This is your shadow, and the shame it holds is probably older than you think. Childhood wounds don't just heal with time. They go into your shadow, and they shape every decision you make. That time you were humiliated in front of the class, shadow. That time your parents said you'd never amount to anything, shadow. That time you were rejected, abandoned, betrayed, shadow, shadow, shadow. All of it went underground. And from there, it's been dictating your life. You avoid taking risks because your shadow remembers failure and humiliation. You don't speak up because your shadow remembers being shut down. You don't pursue what you want because your shadow doesn't believe you deserve it. And the worst part, you've forgotten these wounds even exist, but your shadow hasn't. Your shadow remembers everything, and it's trying to protect you by keeping you small, hidden, safe. But here's what your shadow doesn't understand. That protection has become a prison. Shadow work isn't about reliving trauma. It's about acknowledging it, seeing it, and recognizing that the child who was shamed is not who you are today. So let me ask you directly, what shame are you carrying? What story are you telling yourself about your worth? And more importantly, is it true, or is it just a wound that's been hiding in the shadows for so long that you started believing it was reality? The moment you name your shame, you begin to dismantle its power. I feel ashamed that, say it out loud or in your mind. Just acknowledge it. That's your shadow, and it's been waiting for you to finally see it. You're doing the work that most people are too afraid to do, and that takes courage. Let's keep going, because there's more in the shadows, and it's time to meet all of it. If you're still here, you're already doing something most people never will. You're choosing truth over comfort. That makes you dangerous, not to others, but to mediocrity. Chapter 4, Your Jealousy Blueprint. Let's talk about the emotion nobody wants to admit, jealousy. You've probably felt it, maybe recently, that sharp, bitter feeling when someone else gets what you want. The promotion, the relationship, the recognition, the life, and you immediately felt ashamed for feeling it. Because jealousy is ugly, right? Jealousy means you're petty, insecure, not a good person. So you pushed it down, you smiled, you congratulated them, you pretended to be happy for them. But inside, you were seething. And that jealousy went straight into your shadow. Here's what most people don't understand about jealousy. Jealousy is not your enemy. Jealousy is your compass. It's showing you what you want but are too afraid to admit. It's revealing the desires you've been denying. It's pointing to the life you're not allowing yourself to have. Think about it. You're not jealous of everyone. You're jealous of specific people achieving specific things. That's information. That's your shadow telling you this is what you actually want. Stop pretending you don't. But instead of listening, most people weaponize their jealousy. They criticize the person they're jealous of. They find reasons why that person doesn't deserve their success. They minimize their achievements. Oh, they just got lucky. It's because they knew the right people. they probably cut corners. It's easy for them because this is your shadow speaking. And it's trying to protect your ego by making the other person's success seem illegitimate. Because if their success is real and earned, then your lack of success becomes harder to justify. But here's the truth. Their success has nothing to do with your worth. Nothing. Someone else's win doesn't mean you lost. Someone else's beauty doesn't make you ugly. Someone else's intelligence doesn't make you stupid. But your shadow doesn't know that. Your shadow operates in scarcity. It believes that if they have it, there's less for you. And that belief keeps you stuck, bitter, small. So here's what shadow work does with jealousy. It transforms it. It asks, what is this jealousy teaching me? Are you jealous of someone's confidence? That's showing you that you want more confidence. Are you jealous of someone's relationship? That's showing you that you want a deep connection. Are you jealous of someone's career? That's showing you that you want professional fulfillment. Your jealousy is a roadmap to your authentic desires, but only if you stop running from it and start listening to it. So right now, think about the last time you felt genuinely jealous, not envious in a mild way, jealous, that burning, uncomfortable feeling. Who was it? What did they have? And here's the harder question. Why aren't you allowing yourself to pursue that? What belief in your shadow is keeping you from going after what you actually want? Maybe it's, people like me don't get that. Maybe it's, I'm not talented enough. Maybe it's, I don't deserve that kind of success. Maybe it's, if I succeed, people will resent me. Those are shadow beliefs, and they're the real reason you're stuck. Your jealousy is trying to wake you up. It's trying to tell you that you're living smaller than your potential, that you're denying your own desires because your shadow convinced you they're impossible. But they're not impossible. They're just uncomfortable to admit. So admit it right now. What do you actually want? What are you jealous of? Say it, even if it feels selfish, even if it feels impossible, even if it feels shameful. That's your authentic desire. That's the life your shadow has been keeping you from. And the moment you acknowledge it, you take the first step toward actually creating it. Because jealousy stops being toxic the moment you use it as fuel instead of letting it consume you. Let's keep going. Your shadow has more to show you. Chapter 5, The Victim Identity. This is the hardest chapter, because what I'm about to say is going to make you defensive. You might even want to stop listening. And if you do, that's your shadow protecting itself. Here it is. You have a victim identity, and you're addicted to it. Before you react, hear me out. This doesn't mean bad things haven't happened to you. They have. This doesn't mean you haven't been hurt, betrayed, abandoned, or traumatized. You have. But at some point, your pain became your identity, your story, your excuse, your comfort zone. And your shadow learned that being the victim keeps you safe. Safe from what? Safe from taking responsibility. Safe from taking risks. Safe from being disappointed again. Safe from having to change. Because if you're the victim, nothing is your fault. You can't be blamed for your life not working out. It's not you, it's them, it's the world, it's your circumstances, and that feels safer than the alternative, which is admitting that you have power, that you have agency, that your life is the result of your choices. That's terrifying, because if you have power, then you're responsible. And responsibility means you can no longer hide behind your story. Here's how the victim identity shows up. Every conversation becomes about your problems. Every success someone else has reminds you of your struggles. Every challenge is proof that the world is against you. You unconsciously seek out situations that confirm your victim narrative. You stay in toxic relationships because leaving would mean you can't blame them anymore. You don't take opportunities because succeeding would mean you can't say the world never gave you a chance. Your shadow has learned that suffering gets attention, sympathy, connection, and it's terrified of losing that. But here's what your shadow doesn't see: the cost. The cost is your freedom. The cost is your power. The cost is your future. Because as long as you're a victim, you cannot be a creator. You can't build. You can't rise. You can't transform. And deep down, your shadow knows this. And it's okay with it. Because your shadow would rather keep you small and safe than risk you growing and getting hurt again. This is the part of shadow work that most people can't handle, because it requires radical honesty. It requires asking, what am I getting from staying stuck? What is my suffering giving me? And the answer is usually uncomfortable. Maybe it's giving you an excuse not to try. Maybe it's giving you connection through shared misery. Maybe it's giving you a sense of moral superiority. Maybe it's giving you a reason to stay exactly where you are. And I'm not saying this to shame you, I'm saying this to free you. Because once you see the hidden benefits of your victim identity, you can choose to let it go. Here's the shift. From victim to owner. Victim says, this happened to me. Owner says, this happened to me, and here's what I'm going to do about it. Victim says, I can't because of my past. Owner says, my past is part of me, but it doesn't define my future. Victim says, they did this to me. Owner says, they did that, and I'm choosing how I respond. This isn't about toxic positivity. This isn't about pretending pain doesn't exist. This is about reclaiming your power, about recognizing that while you couldn't control what happened to you, you can control what you do next. And your shadow hates this, because power means vulnerability. Power means you might fail. Power means you can't hide anymore. But that's also where freedom lives. So let me ask you, and be honest, what story are you telling yourself about why you're stuck? What past wound are you using as a shield against the future? That's your victim identity. That's your shadow keeping you safe in a prison of your own making, and the only way out is to acknowledge it, to see it, and to say, I'm ready to let this go. I'm ready to own my life. That's terrifying, I know, but it's also the most liberating thing you'll ever do. We're halfway through, and if you're still here, you're not the person you were when you started. Let's keep going. You've made it halfway. Most people quit here because this is where the mirror becomes too clear. But you're still listening. That means something inside you is ready to change. Don't stop now. The second half is where transformation happens. Chapter 6, your addiction to being right. Let me ask you something. How many relationships have you damaged because you needed to be right? How many arguments have you escalated because admitting you were wrong felt like death? How many bridges have you burned because your ego couldn't handle being corrected? If you're being honest, the answer is probably more than you want to admit, because hiding in your shadow is an addiction. An addiction that's quietly destroying your connections, your growth, and your peace. You're addicted to being right. And just like any addiction, you don't even realize you're doing it. You think you're standing up for yourself, or defending the truth, or not letting people walk over you. But really, you're feeding your shadow, the part of you that's so terrified of being wrong that it would rather be right than happy. Here's how it works. Somewhere in your past, being wrong meant something terrible. Maybe it meant humiliation. Maybe it meant losing love or approval. Maybe it meant feeling stupid or inadequate. So your shadow learned a rule. Being wrong is dangerous. Being right keeps me safe. And now, decades later, that rule still runs your life. You argue about trivial things. You can't let anything go. You bring up past arguments to prove your point. You'd rather be right than connected. And the cost? The cost is every relationship you've pushed away by making them feel small so you could feel superior. Think about your last big argument, the one where you just couldn't let it go, where you had to have the last word, where you kept bringing up evidence and logic and facts. What were you actually defending? It wasn't the argument, it was your ego, your fragile sense of self that believes if you're wrong, you're worthless. That's your shadow. And it's keeping you isolated. Because here's the thing about always being right. It means everyone else has to be wrong. And nobody wants to be around the person who makes them feel wrong all the time. Your need to be right is costing you intimacy, friendship, love, connection. And deep down, your shadow knows this. But it's so addicted to the hit of righteousness, the rush of superiority, that it doesn't care. So what's the shadow work here? It's learning to separate your worth from your correctness. You can be wrong about something and still be valuable. You can admit a mistake and still be intelligent. You can say, I didn't see it that way. Thank you for showing me, and still be strong. In fact, that takes more strength than always being right. That takes the kind of strength that only comes from integrating your shadow. Because the person who's always right is actually deeply insecure. They need external validation of their intelligence, their value, their worth. But the person who's integrated their shadow, they don't need to be right. They already know their worth isn't determined by winning arguments. So here's your challenge. Next time you're in a disagreement, pause. Before you defend, before you argue, before you pull out all your evidence, ask yourself, do I want to be right or do I want to be connected? And then do something radical. Say, you might be right. I didn't think about it that way. Watch what happens. Watch how the tension dissolves. Watch how the other person softens. Watch how the relationship deepens. That's shadow integration. That's what happens when you stop letting your ego run your life from the darkness. You might lose the argument, but you'll gain something far more valuable. You'll gain real connection, the kind that only exists when two people can be vulnerable with each other, when neither one needs to dominate. Your addiction to being right is keeping you lonely, and your shadow doesn't even see it, but you see it now, and that changes everything.
Chapter 7. The Success You're Afraid of. This is going to sound strange, but hear me out. You're not afraid of failure. You're afraid of success. And that fear is in your shadow, sabotaging you every time you get close to a breakthrough. Think about it. How many times have you quit right before the finish line? How many times have you self-destruct when things were finally going well? How many times have you achieved something and then immediately done something to undermine it? This isn't bad luck. This isn't coincidence. This is your shadow protecting you from your deepest fear, the fear of being seen. Because here's what success means. Success means visibility. Success means people notice you. Success means you can no longer hide. And for someone with shadow wounds, that's terrifying. What if people see the real you and reject you? What if you become successful and people realize you're a fraud? What if you get everything you want and you're still not happy? What if you outgrow the people you love? These are shadow fears, and they're powerful enough to keep you stuck forever. Your shadow would rather keep you small and safe than let you shine and risk being hurt. So it sabotages, it procrastinates, it creates drama, it makes you sick, it gives you every excuse in the book. Not because you're lazy, not because you lack discipline, but because your shadow is terrified of what will happen if you actually succeed. Here's what most people don't talk about. The fear of outgrowing your identity. You've built your life around a certain story. I'm the underdog. I'm the person who's been through so much. I'm not like those successful people. And success would destroy that story. Success would mean admitting you're capable, that you always were capable, that the only thing holding you back was you. That's a hard pill to swallow. So your shadow keeps you stuck in preparation, in not ready yet, in I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes. Because your shadow will always find a new reason why now isn't the right time. Here's another layer. The fear of jealousy and resentment. You've seen what happens to people who succeed. They get criticized. They get attacked. People they thought were friends suddenly turn cold. And your shadow remembers. Your shadow says, see, success isn't safe. People will hate us. Better to stay small and liked than successful and alone. But here's what your shadow doesn't understand. The people who resent your success are dealing with their own shadows, their own fears, their own feelings of inadequacy, and their reaction has nothing to do with you. It's a reflection of their own inner work they haven't done. You're not responsible for managing other people's shadows. You're only responsible for integrating your own. So here's the question. What would your life look like if you weren't afraid of your own success? What would you pursue? What would you create? What would you become? And what's stopping you isn't external. It's your shadow. The part of you that's convinced that staying small keeps you safe. But it doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you trapped. Real safety comes from integration. From facing your fear of visibility. From accepting that success will change you, and that's okay. Because the person afraid of success is not who you are. It's just a protective mechanism from your shadow. And you don't need that protection anymore. You're ready to be seen. You're ready to succeed. You're ready to step into the fullness of who you actually are. Your shadow just doesn't know it yet. But you do. And that's what matters. Chapter 8. Your Dark Fantasies. Okay, this is where most people will want to stop listening. Because what I'm about to talk about is deeply uncomfortable. Your dark thoughts, your intrusive fantasies, the revenge scenarios you play out in your mind, the things you would never, ever admit to anyone, the things that make you think, what's wrong with me? Why do I think like this? Welcome to the deepest part of your shadow. Everyone has dark thoughts. Everyone. But we live in a culture that pretends we don't, that insists good people don't think about violence, revenge, destruction. So when these thoughts show up, we panic. We suppress them. We feel ashamed. We worry we're secretly a terrible person. And all of that goes straight into the shadow, where it grows and festers and gains power. Here's what you need to understand. Having a dark thought does not make you a dark person. Read that again. Having a dark thought does not make you a dark person. Your mind generates thousands of thoughts per day. Most of them are random. Many of them are intrusive. Some of them are disturbing. That doesn't mean you want to act on them. That doesn't mean you're dangerous. That doesn't mean anything except that you're human. But when you judge these thoughts, when you try to push them away, when you pretend they don't exist, you give them power. Because what you resist persists. What you deny grows. What you exile takes control. Shadow work asks you to do something radical with your dark thoughts. Acknowledge them, look at them, and understand what they're really about. That revenge fantasy? It's not about actually hurting someone. It's about the powerlessness you felt when they hurt you. Your shadow is trying to give you back power the only way it knows how. Those destructive impulses. They're not about actually destroying your life. They're about the part of you that feels trapped and wants to break free, even if breaking free means breaking everything. Those violent thoughts? They're not about actually being violent. They're about unexpressed rage that has nowhere to go. Your shadow is screaming for release. When you understand this, when you see the message beneath the thought loses its grip. You can say, "Oh, I'm not actually homicidal. I'm just really, really angry, and I don't know how to express it safely." You can say, "I don't actually want to destroy my life. I just want to escape this feeling of being suffocated by responsibilities." You can say, "I don't actually want revenge. I just want to feel like I matter, like what happened to me mattered." This is shadow integration. This is taking back the power you gave to your dark thoughts by being terrified of them. And here's what happens when you stop fighting your shadow thoughts. They quiet down. They lose intensity. They stop being intrusive. Because they were never trying to make you act. They were trying to get your attention, to show you something you were ignoring. Your anger, your pain, your powerlessness, your trapped feeling. And once you see that, once you address the real issue, the dark thoughts don't need to be so loud anymore. So, right now, bring to mind a dark thought you've had. One that made you feel ashamed or afraid of yourself. Look at it. Don't judge it. Don't analyze whether it makes you a good or bad person. Just ask, what is this thought trying to tell me? What feeling is beneath it? That's your shadow, not trying to destroy you, trying to communicate with you the only way it knows how. And when you listen, when you acknowledge, when you integrate, it doesn't need to scream anymore. This is the deepest work. This is where real transformation happens. Because when you can accept even the darkest parts of your shadow, when you can look at your worst thoughts and say, "This is part of being human and it doesn't define me," that's when you become truly unshakable. Because there's nothing left to be afraid of. You've seen it all, and you're still whole. If you're still here after that chapter, you're doing work that most therapists won't even touch. You're going deeper than almost anyone is willing to go. That makes you rare. That makes you powerful. Let's finish what we started. Chapter 9. The people you secretly hate. There are people in your life who trigger you intensely. Maybe it's a coworker. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's someone on social media you've never even met. But something about them makes your blood boil. Something about them pushes every button you have. And you probably think it's because they're annoying, or wrong, or toxic. But here's the truth that's going to make you uncomfortable. They're a mirror. And what you hate in them is what you haven't accepted in yourself. This is called projection. And it's one of the most powerful shadow mechanisms. Whatever you've rejected in yourself, you will see and despise in others. If you've rejected your neediness, you'll hate needy people. If you've rejected your selfishness, you'll hate selfish people. If you've rejected your weakness, you'll hate weak people. The things that trigger you the most are showing you the parts of your shadow you haven't integrated yet. And I know what you're thinking. No, this person is actually terrible. This isn't about me. But shadow work asks you to consider this. Maybe they are difficult. Maybe they do have problems. But why does it bother you so much? Why does this specific trait in this specific person trigger such a strong reaction? That reaction is your shadow. Your shadow is saying, I see something in them that I've forbidden in myself. Here's an example. Let's say you hate people who need constant validation. They annoy you. They seem weak. Shadow work asks, do you allow yourself to need validation? Or did you learn that needing approval makes you pathetic? If you learn to suppress your own need for validation, to be strong and independent, then seeing someone else openly seeking it will trigger you, because they're doing something your shadow forbids. And that threatens your entire identity. Another example. Let's say you can't stand people who are too emotional, who cry easily, who wear their feelings on their sleeve. Shadow work asks, do you allow yourself to be emotional? Or did you learn that emotions are weakness? If you've buried your emotions in your shadow, if you pride yourself on being logical and controlled, then seeing someone be openly emotional will enrage you, because they're living in a way your shadow won't allow. They have freedom you've denied yourself. This is why your triggers are gifts. They're showing you exactly what you need to integrate. So let's do this right now. Think about someone who triggers you, someone you secretly, or not so secretly, hate. What about them bothers you most? What trait or behavior makes you furious? Now ask yourself, do I have that trait? Have I ever been that way? And if I have, what did I tell myself about it? This is uncomfortable, because you're probably going to find that yes, you do have that trait. Or you did, at some point, and you judged yourself so harshly for it that you buried it in your shadow. And now, every time you see it in someone else, your shadow reacts. It says, that's forbidden, that's bad, that's unacceptable. But here's the integration. What if that trait isn't actually bad? What if it's just human? What if needing validation is okay sometimes? What if being emotional is actually healthy? What if being selfish in small ways is necessary for self-care? When you integrate these shadow parts, when you give yourself permission to be fully human, the triggers lose their power. You can see someone being needy and think, yeah, we all need support sometimes, instead of being disgusted. You can see someone being emotional and think, they're processing something, instead of being angry. You can see someone being selfish and think, they're protecting their energy, instead of resenting them. This doesn't mean you have to like everyone. This doesn't mean everyone's behavior is acceptable. It just means you stop letting other people's shadows trigger your own. You stop projecting your unintegrated parts onto them. And that's freedom. Because when other people's behavior stops controlling your emotional state, when you can observe without being triggered, when you can set boundaries without rage, that's when you know you've integrated that part of your shadow. So your triggers aren't enemies, they're teachers, showing you exactly what you still need to accept in yourself. And every person who triggers you is giving you a roadmap to your own healing. Thank them, even if only in your mind, because they're helping you see your shadow. And seeing it is the first step to integrating it. Chapter 10. Your Abandoned Dreams. Let's talk about the life you pretended you didn't want. The dream you had when you were younger, before life told you to be realistic, before you learned to compromise, before you gave up. It's in your shadow, and it's haunting you. Every time you see someone living that life, something inside you aches. Every time you think about what could have been, something inside you dies a little. But you don't let yourself feel it. You don't let yourself acknowledge it. Instead, you tell yourself stories. I was never that talented anyway. It was an unrealistic dream. I'm too old now. I have responsibilities. It's too late. These are shadow lies. Your shadow protecting you from the pain of admitting what you really gave up. Because here's the truth. You didn't let go of that dream because it was impossible. You let go of it because you were afraid. Afraid you'd fail. Afraid you weren't good enough. Afraid of what people would think. Afraid of being disappointed. Afraid of trying and realizing you couldn't do it. So you killed the dream before it could kill you. And then you told yourself you never really wanted it anyway. That's called rationalization, and it's one of the shadow's favorite defense mechanisms. But the dream didn't die. It went into your shadow. And from there, it creates a constant low-level dissatisfaction with your life. You wonder why nothing feels fulfilling, why success doesn't feel like success, why you're restless, empty, like something's missing. It's the abandoned dream, calling to you from the shadows, and until you acknowledge it, until you grieve it, until you decide what you're actually going to do about it, it will keep haunting you. So let's do this, right now. What did you want to be when you were younger? Before the world told you no. Before you learned to be practical. Before you gave up. Really think about it. What dream did you bury? Maybe it was being an artist, a writer, a musician, an entrepreneur, a traveler, a dancer. Maybe it was a relationship that got away. A life you could have lived if you'd made different choices. Whatever it is, bring it to the surface. Look at it. Feel the ache. That ache is your shadow, mourning what you never allowed yourself to become. Now, here's the shadow work question. Is it actually too late? Or is that just another story you're telling yourself to avoid the fear of trying? Because in most cases, it's not too late. It's just terrifying. You can still write. You can still create. You can still pursue what lights you up. But your shadow would rather you believe it's impossible than risk you trying and failing. Because if you never try, you never have to face the possibility that you weren't good enough. You can always wonder, what if? And wonder is safer than knowing. But wonder is also a prison. So here's your choice. You can keep pretending you didn't want it. You can keep telling yourself it's too late. You can keep that dream buried in your shadow, slowly poisoning your life with quiet dissatisfaction. Or you can do something terrifying. You can admit you still want it. You can grieve the time you lost. And you can ask yourself, what would it look like to pursue this now? Not as who I was, but as who I am. Maybe you don't become a full-time artist, but you start creating again. Maybe you don't quit your job to travel, but you start taking trips. Maybe you don't become a professional musician, but you join a band. The dream doesn't have to look the way you once imagined, but it has to be acknowledged. It has to be honored. Because when you integrate your abandoned dreams into your life, even in small ways, something shifts. The restlessness fades. The emptiness fills. The quiet dissatisfaction dissolves. Not because you achieved the dream, but because you stopped betraying yourself by pretending it didn't matter. Your abandoned dreams are in your shadow, and they're not asking you to drop everything and chase them recklessly. They're just asking you to stop pretending they don't exist. That's integration. That's honoring every part of yourself, even the parts that seem impossible. Because when you do that, when you bring your dreams out of the shadow and into the light, you become whole. And that's when everything changes. You're almost there. You've faced rage, shame, jealousy, victimhood, ego, fear, darkness, triggers, and lost dreams. That's more shadow work than most people do in a lifetime. Now it's time to integrate everything you've seen. Let's bring it all together. Chapter 11. Meeting Your Shadow, the Ritual. We've spent the last hour identifying your shadow, all the parts of yourself you've rejected, denied, hidden, and feared. Now it's time to meet your shadow face to face. This is the integration ritual, the moment where you stop running and start embracing. I want you to find a quiet space. If you're listening while doing something else, pause for a moment. This requires your full attention. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Now, I want you to visualize something. Imagine there's a version of you standing in front of you, but it's not the version you show the world. It's the shadow version, the angry one, the ashamed one, the jealous one, the petty one, the weak one, the frightened one. All of it, all the parts you've been hiding. Look at this shadow self. Really look at it. What does it look like? What is it feeling? What has it been trying to tell you all these years? Your shadow isn't your enemy. Your shadow is the exiled part of you that just wants to come home. So now, do something you've never done before. Speak to your shadow, out loud or in your mind. Say this: I see you. I've been running from you for so long, but I see you now. You're angry, and you have every right to be. I hear you. You're ashamed, and I'm sorry I made you feel like you were too much or not enough. You're jealous, and that's okay. You're showing me what I really want. You're dark, and that doesn't scare me anymore. You're part of being human. You've been trying to protect me, and I'm grateful. But I don't need protection anymore. I need integration. I'm ready to let you out of the shadows. I'm ready to accept you, all of you. Take a breath. Feel what's coming up. This might feel emotional. You might feel resistance. That's okay. That's your shadow testing whether you mean it. So say it again. I accept you. You're part of me, and that's okay. Now, imagine your shadow self stepping forward. Imagine it merging with you. All that rejected darkness, anger, shame, fear, coming back home. You're not pushing it away anymore. You're integrating it. And as you do, something profound happens. The power that your shadow is using to control you unconsciously, that power is now yours to use consciously. The rage becomes boundaries. The shame becomes self-compassion. The jealousy becomes ambition. The fear becomes caution. The darkness becomes depth. All of it transforms, not into something good or bad, but into something whole. You're no longer fragmented. You're no longer at war with yourself. You're no longer hiding parts of who you are. You're integrated. You're complete. You're unshakable. Because nothing can destroy you now. You've seen the worst parts of yourself and said, "You belong to me." That's power. Real power. Not the fake motivation kind. Not the surface-level confidence kind. The deep, authentic, unshakable power that comes from being whole. This is the shadow work revolution. This is what changes everything. You've done the work, and you're not the same person anymore. Chapter 12. Alchemy of Darkness. Now that you've met your shadow, now that you've integrated the parts you've been running from, something incredible becomes possible. Alchemy, the transformation of darkness into strength. This is what most people don't understand about shadow work. It's not about eliminating your darkness, it's about transforming it. Your rage becomes your most powerful boundary-setting tool. Your shame becomes your deepest self-compassion. Your jealousy becomes your clearest compass for desire. Your victimhood becomes your testimony of survival. Your ego becomes your confidence. Your fear becomes your wisdom. Your dark thoughts become your creative edge. Your triggers become your teachers. Your abandoned dreams become your late-blooming purpose. None of this changes, but the way you relate to it changes everything. Think about anger. Before integration, your shadow anger leaked out in passive aggression, in explosions, in silent resentment. After integration, that same anger becomes the force that says, "No, this boundary is non-negotiable." It becomes the power to walk away from what doesn't serve you, to stand up for yourself, to protect what matters. That's alchemy, turning shadow lead into conscious gold. Think about shame. Before integration, your shame made you hide, shrink, play small, sabotage yourself. After integration, that same shame becomes radical self-acceptance. It becomes the ability to say, "Yes, I made mistakes. Yes, I'm flawed, and I'm still worthy." It becomes the depth to connect with others authentically, because you're no longer pretending to be perfect. That's alchemy, transforming shame into strength. Think about your dark thoughts. Before integration, they terrified you, made you think you were broken, made you question your sanity. After integration, those same dark thoughts become creative power. They become the raw material for art, for writing, for understanding the human condition. They become proof that you can hold the full spectrum of human experience without being consumed by it. That's alchemy, turning darkness into depth. This is what happens when you stop fighting your shadow and start working with it. You don't become a different person. You become a whole person. And wholeness is what makes you unshakable, because you're not hiding anything anymore. You're not running from anything anymore. You're not pretending to be something you're not. You're integrated. Light and shadow, strength and weakness, all of it. And when you own all of it, when you transform all of it, when you alchemize all of it, you become the most powerful version of yourself. Not because you eliminated your flaws, but because you integrated them. Not because you became perfect, but because you became real. And real is always more powerful than perfect. This is the alchemy of shadow work. This is the revolution. You're not broken. You were never broken. You were just fragmented, and now you're whole. Chapter 13. The Death of Your False Self. There's one more death that needs to happen before you're truly free. The death of who you pretended to be. All your life you've been wearing masks, playing roles, performing a version of yourself that you thought the world wanted to see. The nice one, the strong one, the successful one, the together one. But that was never you. That was your false self, the identity you created to survive, to be loved, to be accepted. And it worked. For a while. But now it's suffocating you. Because the false self is exhausting. It takes constant energy to maintain, constant vigilance to make sure no one sees the real you underneath. And the more you grow, the more you integrate your shadow, the harder it becomes to keep pretending. Because you're not that person anymore. Maybe you never were. So shadow work asks you to do something that feels like death. Let go of who you pretended to be. Grieve the identity you've been performing. Because even though it was fake, it was safe. It was familiar. It got you this far, but it can't take you any further. Your false self was built on hiding your shadow, on showing only the acceptable parts, on being what others needed you to be. But your integrated self, your whole self, it doesn't fit in those old boxes anymore. Your integrated self is messy, complicated, contradictory, real. Your integrated self has boundaries that make some people uncomfortable. Your integrated self has desires that don't align with what you're supposed to want. Your integrated self has edges, rough spots, shadows that don't always behave. And that's okay. Because that's actually you. The death of the false self feels like losing yourself. But you're not losing yourself. You're losing the performance, the mask, the pretending. And that loss is necessary, because you can't be whole while you're still pretending. Here's what the death of the false self looks like. Maybe you stop being the nice one who never says no. Maybe you stop being the strong one who never asks for help. Maybe you stop being the perfect one who never makes mistakes. Maybe you stop being the selfless one who never has needs. And when you stop, people might be confused. They might be disappointed. They might even be angry. Because they liked the false self. The false self was easier to manage. The false self didn't have boundaries or needs or complexity. But the false self wasn't you. And living as someone else, even if they loved that version, is a betrayal of your soul. So you let it die. You grieve it. And you allow yourself to be seen as who you actually are. Flawed, real, integrated, whole. And here's what happens when the false self dies. The right people stay. The people who love you, not the performance. The people who can handle your wholeness. The people who don't need you to be perfect. And the wrong people leave. The people who were only there for the mask. The people who can't handle your authenticity. The people who needed you to stay small. And that's okay, because you're not here to be what everyone else needs. You're here to be yourself, fully, completely, unapologetically. That's the death that leads to life, the death of the false self, the birth of the true self. And once that death happens, once you stop performing and start being, you become unshakable. Because there's nothing left to defend, nothing left to hide, nothing left to prove. You're just you, and that's enough. Chapter 13. The Death of Your False Self. There's one more death that needs to happen before you're truly free. The death of who you pretended to be. All your life you've been wearing masks, playing roles, performing a version of yourself that you thought the world wanted to see. The nice one, the strong one, the successful one, the together one. But that was never you. That was your false self. The identity you created to survive, to be loved, to be accepted, and it worked. For a while. But now it's suffocating you. Because the false self is exhausting. It takes constant energy to maintain, constant vigilance to make sure no one sees the real you underneath. And the more you grow, the more you integrate your shadow, the harder it becomes to keep pretending. Because you're not that person anymore. Maybe you never were. So shadow work asks you to do something that feels like death. Let go of who you pretended to be. Grieve the identity you've been performing. Because even though it was fake, it was safe. It was familiar. It got you this far. But it can't take you any further. Your false self was built on hiding your shadow, on showing only the acceptable parts, on being what others needed you to be. But your integrated self, your whole self, it doesn't fit in those old boxes anymore. Your integrated self is messy, complicated, contradictory, real. Your integrated self has boundaries that make some people uncomfortable. Your integrated self has desires that don't align with what you're supposed to want. Your integrated self has edges, rough spots, shadows that don't always behave. And that's okay, because that's actually you. The death of the false self feels like losing yourself. But you're not losing yourself. You're losing the performance, the mask, the pretending. And that loss is necessary, because you can't be whole while you're still pretending. Here's what the death of the false self looks like. Maybe you stop being the nice one who never says no. Maybe you stop being the strong one who never asks for help. Maybe you stop being the perfect one who never makes mistakes. Maybe you stop being the selfless one who never has needs. And when you stop, people might be confused. They might be disappointed. They might even be angry, because they liked the false self. The false self was easier to manage. The false self didn't have boundaries or needs or complexity. But the false self wasn't you. And living as someone else, even if they loved that version, is a betrayal of your soul. So you let it die. You grieve it. And you allow yourself to be seen as who you actually are. Flawed, real, integrated, whole. And here's what happens when the false self dies. The right people stay. The people who love you, not the performance. The people who can handle your wholeness. The people who don't need you to be perfect. And the wrong people leave. The people who are only there for the mask. The people who can't handle your authenticity. The people who needed you to stay small. And that's okay, because you're not here to be what everyone else needs. You're here to be yourself. Fully, completely, unapologetically. That's the death that leads to life. The death of the false self. The birth of the true self. And once that death happens, once you stop performing and start being, you become unshakable, because there's nothing left to defend, nothing left to hide, nothing left to prove. You're just you, and that's enough. Chapter 14. Radical Ownership. We're almost at the end, and there's one final piece of shadow integration that completes everything: radical ownership. This is the moment where you take full responsibility for every part of yourself. Light and shadow, past and present, conscious and unconscious. You stop blaming, you stop excusing, you stop justifying. You own it, all of it. Your rage, yours. Your shame, yours. Your jealousy, yours. Your darkness, yours. Your choices, yours. Your patterns, yours. Your life, yours. This isn't about shame. This isn't about beating yourself up. This is about power. Because the moment you own something, you can change it. As long as you're blaming your past, your parents, your circumstances, you're powerless. You're a victim. You're stuck. But the moment you say, "This is mine. I own this. I'm responsible for what I do with it," that's when transformation becomes possible. Radical ownership doesn't mean the bad things that happened to you were your fault. They weren't. But it means your response to them is your responsibility. Your healing is your responsibility. Your growth is your responsibility. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to fix you. No one is coming to do the work for you. It's yours to do, and that's actually good news. Because if it's yours, then you have the power to change it. So right now, let's do radical ownership. Say this out loud or in your mind. I own my shadow, every part of it. The rage, the shame, the jealousy, the darkness, it's all mine. I own my patterns, the self-sabotage, the victim mentality, the need to be right. It's mine to transform. I own my choices, past and future. No one else made them. I did. And I own the consequences. I own my healing. It's not my fault that I was wounded, but it is my responsibility to heal. I own my life, every single piece of it, and that means I have the power to change it. Feel that? That weight? That's responsibility. And it's heavy. It's uncomfortable. It's easier to blame. But responsibility is also freedom, because the moment you own it, you control it. Your shadow doesn't control you anymore. Your past doesn't control you anymore. Other people don't control you anymore. You control you. And that's the ultimate power. Radical ownership is the final piece of shadow integration. It's what makes you truly unshakable. Because you're not waiting for permission anymore. You're not waiting for circumstances to change anymore. You're not waiting for someone else to make it easier. You're taking full ownership. And that means you're taking full power. This is the revolution. This is what changes everything. You own your shadow. You integrate your darkness. You accept your wholeness. You take responsibility. And then you become unstoppable. Chapter 15. The Unleashing. Final chapter. You made it. You've walked through the shadows. You faced every part of yourself that you've been running from. The rage, the shame, the jealousy, the victimhood, the ego, the fear, the darkness, the abandoned dreams, the false self, all of it. And you're still here. You're still whole. In fact, you're more whole than you've ever been, because now you know something that most people never discover. Your power was never in your light. Your power was in integrating your darkness. The parts you rejected, they weren't your weakness. They were your disowned strength. Your rage is your boundary. Your shame is your compassion. Your jealousy is your desire. Your darkness is your depth. Your shadow is your power. And now that you've integrated it all, now that you've stopped running and started owning, you're about to experience something most people never feel. Freedom. Real freedom. Not the freedom from responsibility. Not the freedom from consequences. The freedom from pretending. The freedom from hiding. The freedom from being controlled by parts of yourself you don't understand. You're no longer at war with yourself. You're no longer fragmented. You're no longer terrified of your own mind. You're integrated. You're whole. You're unshakable. And here's what becomes possible now. You can take risks without being paralyzed by fear, because your shadow fear has been integrated into wisdom. You can set boundaries without guilt, because your shadow rage has been integrated into strength. You can pursue your dreams without shame, because your shadow shame has been integrated into self-acceptance. You can see others clearly without projection, because your shadow triggers have been integrated into awareness. You can live authentically without performing, because your false self has died and your true self has been born. This is what the shadow work revolution creates. Not perfection, but wholeness. And wholeness is what makes you dangerous, not to others, but to mediocrity, to fear, to anything that tries to keep you small, because you've seen the worst parts of yourself. You've faced the darkness, you've integrated the shadow, and you're still standing, still growing, still becoming. That makes you unbreakable. So here's what happens next. You live differently. You speak your truth without apologizing. You honor your needs without guilt. You pursue your desires without shame. You set your boundaries without explanation. You show your whole self without fear, because there's nothing left to hide, nothing left to run from, nothing left that can control you unconsciously. You own your shadow, and that means you own your life. This is the revolution, and you're part of it now. The world needs more people who've done this work, more people who faced their shadows and integrated them, more people who are whole instead of perfect, because those are the people who change things, not through preaching or performing, but through being. You're that person now. Welcome to the other side. Closing of this book, The Transformation. Before this ends, I want you to do something. Take a moment and think about who you were when you pressed play on this audiobook. The person who was still running from their shadow, still hiding parts of themselves, still controlled by unconscious patterns. That person is gone. You've done shadow work, real shadow work, the uncomfortable, painful, transformative work that most people are too afraid to do. You've met your rage, your shame, your jealousy, your victimhood, your ego, your fear, your darkness, your triggers, your abandoned dreams, your false self, and you didn't run. You didn't hide. You didn't pretend it wasn't there. You looked it all in the face and said, "This is me too." That takes a level of courage that most people will never have. And now you're integrated. You're whole. You're unshakable. Not because your life is perfect, but because you've accepted yourself completely. And that changes everything. So what happens now? You live fully, authentically, powerfully. You stop betraying yourself. You stop hiding. You stop pretending. You show up as who you actually are, shadows and all. And some people won't like it. Some people will be uncomfortable with your wholeness. Some people will wish you'd go back to the version of you that was easier to manage. Let them go. They're not your people. Your people are the ones who can handle your fullness, your complexity, your contradictions, your shadows. Those are the relationships worth keeping. As for the rest, the opinions, the judgments, the expectations, they don't matter anymore, because your worth isn't determined by other people's comfort. Your worth is inherent, and you know that now. So go. Live your integrated life. Set your boundaries. Speak your truth. Honor your desires. Own your darkness. Be unshakable. And if you're ready for more work like this, if you want to go even deeper, subscribe to EchoVerse Audiobooks and hit the notification bell, because this is just the beginning. Next audiobook, The Ego Death Protocol: How to Kill Who You Think You Are to Become Who You Actually Are. The revolution continues, and you're leading it now. Welcome to the Shadow Work Revolution. You're not the same person who pressed play, and you never will be again. Now go. Face the world with your integrated self. You've become unbreakable.